business to avoid 2026. Or should I say, worst business to avoid 2026 and henceforth. By the way, I'm going to give you a discount of another one. So I'm going to share with you two businesses to avoid because they are very tricky. They have a lot of moving parts. And I can tell you, if you're not cautious, keen, and careful, you can mess up big time. This is Good Joseph, and as always, I try the best I can to make sure that I share videos such as this one so that we can learn from each other. And by the way, if you've been watching my videos and you've not subscribed, honestly, by the way, I can tell that from the analytics of the videos. And some of you guys are watching my videos without subscribing. Come on, just find it decent. Take 1 second, hit that subscription button. Make sure that you like this video and you leave a comment on the comment section. Tell me where you're watching me from. And by the way, tell me that toxic relationship that you had with your business. Before I even tell you something on this board, just the way we usually have toxic relationships, we usually have toxic businesses. You know, you can have a toxic business whereby you guys, you're trying to shake off and everybody go by their own ways, but you can't. You find somebody saying, oh my goodness, I've been with this business for the last 7 years. I've actually used all my money to build this business, but it's actually letting me down each and every day. So you find this person, but you're not moving there. You're not getting out. You know, like last month, I used my money to support it. Like you're having a very toxic relationship, but you can't unboard. You're still on board. The way you find somebody complaining about a marriage, but you can't go. Probably you love this dude or this lady or whatever the thing it is. Anyway, this is Good Joseph. Let's get on the board. Now, business number one. Business number one. It is called a general shop. In Kenya, we call it Duka. Hey, my son. Duka. Well, for those who are not Kenyans, what is Duka? Duka is generally a shop whereby you're selling the convenience things, you know, sugar, rice, bar soap, detergents. I don't know how you guys, you have it, the formation that you have in your country, but generally where you're selling these home items that people use it. I think maybe the Americans will call them a convenience store or whatever. Just a general shop where you're selling those normal things and what have you. Let me tell you one thing. I know people who are successful in this thing. I know people who are wealthy in this thing. I know people who are billionaires. Even when you go to the biggest chain that we have in Kenya, they are Dukas for your sake. But, you know, this thing can actually have a very rough time with you. This business is, whoa, if you ask me, I usually see this business, I feel like I can run away. I fear this business. Well, I'm not really fear. I kind of, you know what I'm talking about. This is a business whereby the profit margin is very low. You find like it's having a profit margin of 3%, sometimes even 2%, sometimes 1%. Do you know what that means? For example, if you take a, is it a crate of bread? You know, in Kenya, breads are sold in terms of a crate and what have you. So what happens, like, for example, if you wake up in the morning and eat one bread, just a single bread with your family, because you have this shop, and you have to tell your family, hey, go grab one bread, and then you come, we take it for our breakfast and what have you. So you go grab that one bread. Do you know how many breads you need to sold for you to be able to recoup that money? Bread in Kenya is costing you around 65 Kenyan shilling. That's like 0.65. Oh no, that's like $0.5. That's like $0.5. Hey, this pen of mine is refusing to work. Now, do you know how much? Do you mean how many breads do you need to sell for you to get this? Let's say, for example, you're getting as little as 5 shilling from a bread, and you've actually eaten the 65. Do you know how many breads are those? If you sell 10, you're not yet. You sell 11, you're at 55. You sell 12, you're at 60. Damn. You sell 13, now you've actually made the money that you used in the morning. Kind of sell, let's say you sell at around 13 breads. Now the question is, do you even know that selling 13 breads in a normal convenience shop somewhere interior, is that easy? It isn't. But what makes these businesses survive is when you're selling here and you're selling the other one there, you're selling some other thing here. So you're getting a shilling there, 2 or 3 or 4 or 2 or 1 or 0 or 0 point something. So once you do that collectively, that's when now you realize a substantive amount of money. But it's a very tricky engagement in this regard. Now you can imagine you just woke up, took your bread. Oh, by the way, those who are running a shop, some are making more than 5 shilling in a bread. I used 5 shilling as an example, so don't crucify me on the comment section. Now you find you did take this bread and maybe perhaps you took yourself some, a pack of milk there and some sugar and what have you. You tell me how much you need to sell for you to be able to recoup back that what you've actually used in that particular time. telling you it's quite a huge amount of money or amount of sales that you need to do. And that's why you find some supermarkets, they usually leverage on volumes. Leveraging on volume simply means that you are a business whereby you are leveraging on selling more. You make the small thing from the more, of course, it becomes more. That is how you do it. So Duka, if you've never been to business, this is that business can, in Kenya we say, can actually give you what we call character development. You know, it can slap you heavily. And this is that business that if you were to sit down and trying to figure out how much you're making in terms of a profit, it's very hard. Because you're having like a lot of things that you're selling, stretching from the detergents, the toiletries, to foods, to cooking oil, to whatever. You're selling like a lot of things. So you can't really just sit down and start saying, hey, I sold 2 liters of water. It is hard. I'm not saying you can, but I'm saying it's very hard. Now, this Duka business, would I recommend somebody to start it? Well, this is that business I would say, oh my goodness, just be very careful before you get into this particular business. This business and the restaurant business, oh, they have a very rough time. Restaurant business is now another business whereby you start it, then you find yourself, you're doing the selling, and it's true, you can see you're selling. But at the evening, now the suppliers comes in. Somebody who sold you the milk, now they need their cash. Somebody who supplied you the, potatoes, if you're selling the chips or crisps or whatever you call them. And then somebody else comes here, they sold you, I don't know, water. Some supplied you, I don't know, charcoal. Some supplied you, I don't know, whatever. Then by the electricity bill is here, the human labor is here. I mean, you're like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I saw as if I was making some cash, and when I start paying all these guys, I'm left with nothing. So these are businesses, I'm telling you, don't dare get into if you have a poor financial management skills. Because, you see, this is a good business. If there are conditions, if it accepts you, or 2, if this business, you have a good financial management, because you really need to be very, 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 very disciplined for you to succeed in the Duka business. Why? Because it has a lot of moving parts. And you have to imagine, if for example, I was applied with something here and I took, maybe let's say, for example, that bread that I was using as an example, I took that. At the back of your mind, you have to imagine how much you need to sell for you to recoup that money that was actually spent on a bread. You have to have all those figures at the back of your head. Because another thing would be this business, especially if you have not actually scaled your business and you don't have the systems working for you. This is a business that you can spend inside that particular business forever. You stay there. You rarely go out. You rarely go for weekends. You rarely do nothing. You're just there. Because it's highly demanding. Why? Some of the products that you're selling here are perishable. So you closing for 2 hours, it means a lot. Number 2, this is a business that you find it's a lot, especially in the residential areas. So you closing for 2 hours, your competitors are winning. Because business is war. Never forget that. Business is war. When I say war, I mean in terms of like, this is a wild jungle. And you need to be very tough. You need to be, an outgoing individual. Now there you are, you've closed your business for 3 hours, for 1 day. That's why you find them, they are decent enough to just say, hey, you know what, customers will close temporarily on Saturday for 2 hours, then we'll shut it down. You get what I'm saying? So, because you have to communicate with them. Why? There are a variety of these options available. And literally, you can even find some shops are actually just next door. You find somebody, if you're not there, there are options. There are a variety of them. So it's a business that requires a lot of your attention. It's a business that requires or actually makes you the smallest margin as far as the business are concerned. So for you to realize a substantive amount of money, you have to do quite of a good sales. So it is a business that I will tell you, I'm telling you, it's actually in my worst books as far as the business is concerned. And I've related with a lot of people doing this business. And I did not say if you start this business by default, you fail. No, it is a business that I've seen a lot of people failing in. Why? It is arguably the business that most of the people who dares to get into the business think of. Back then when I was growing up, I used to think like people who own the shops are very wealthy and rich. Well, Kenyans can relate to what I'm talking about. But anyway, that is the case. The second business that is quite tricky that I wouldn't recommend, that I would say if you were to start it, I can't say that I wouldn't recommend, but I can say if you were to start it, just know there are challenges. And that's why I put it on my worst business book records, yeah? It is what we call the cyber. Cyber is where you walk in and you get the computers there and you serve yourself or you do surfing, because there are no internet and what have you. Back then, this business used to be the best. because there were no, spread of Wi-Fi and internet and what have you. Right now, a lot of people are having Wi-Fi in their home. People have smartphone. People can just do this. People nowadays show up to a cyber to do some complicated things like renewing your DL, of which if you are smart, you can do it by yourself. Maybe probably applying for your passport. Again, if you know how to do so, you can do it yourself. Things like, this KRA filing returns and what have you. Okay, Kenyans know what I'm talking about. There's some things that are a bit complicated and what have you. Maybe that's why you can show up to the cyber cafes. But the fact remains, these businesses are dwindling. They are just going down with the combination of others that we used to call them the movie shops. Kenyans again know this. This is a simple a vendor who they sell the movies. You show up with your flash or maybe with your phone and you get to have some few movies or series and you go watch them from home. Nowadays, they have a lot of streamline online places where you can just stream and have your cash, or rather have your movies, and you can enjoy your time wherever you are at any given moment and something like that. So the things are changing, because we have a lot of ISPs, that is internet supply providers. So the thing is, these are businesses that if I check on their future, they are not really promising. So by the time now you start breaking your coffers and go start this business, just know it's a little bit tricky to get into that particular engagement. So be very careful, kid, and cautious, because otherwise, if you can just jump into this business, then the next minute you're crying. So that is just but a single or two businesses that I would say is very tricky to run. Tell me in the comment section, which other examples of businesses would you say, hey, these ones, before you start them, be very careful, because otherwise you can have a very rough time. What experience do you have? Put it on the comment section. And this is Good Joseph, and see you in the next one.